This fic includes neglectful parenting, angst, and quirk discrimination. That is your warning. Sword of Hope by Ixander on AO3. Read by Lily6645. Summary: Hasashi Midoriya was dead. All Izuku was left with was a phone and a necklace. Inko couldn't handle the reminder of Hasashi. Couldn't handle Hasashi's memory being a quirkless kid. Bakugo is a prick who didn't deserve the love Izuku gave him when they were friends, so Izuku turns to President Mike radio station. Tries to become a hero in any way he can, a symbol of hope. Hasashi Yamada would happily take him through along with Aizawa Shota, and of course, their cats. Or, Izuku calls Hasashi's radio station enough for the hero to have adoption papers ready on his fridge, kept up by a green magnet. Chapter 1: First Impressions and Death. Hasashi Yamada was a busy man. There was no question in that, but he wouldn't change it for the world. He got enough money from being a hero to secure a stable and comfortable lifestyle, but working as a teacher was a job he enjoyed with all his heart. Helping children grow and learn to become some of the best heroes ever seen. Well, in his eyes anyway. The public might disagree, especially with the existence of All Might, to Hasashi, though those kids always become the best heroes, better than All Might. Call his bias, he doesn't care. His put your hands up radio station job was his way of reaching out to people from across the country that he may sometimes meet, but most of the time won't, and helping them in any way he can, through music or through his helpline, which helped many people, having a strict rule against discrimination, so anyone could get help when they needed it. People can call in when he's on air too, though his radio station number switches means people can call in for many reasons. That doesn't warrant an need for the helpline. Usually they cover different quirk or music taste, and lots of the time heroes, especially ones that may have forgotten in time before he goes air. He covers it in the events Monday to Friday and the mornings on the weekend. He doesn't work on Wednesdays though. He needs rest at some point. When he's not on air, usually another worker will cover, but wouldn't do calls. They will only talk about different events that have happened and trivial things like the weather, and then put on the music. And he wouldn't change a thing. Hasashi wouldn't say he had favorites when it comes to people he meets through his radio call sessions. That's if he hadn't met Emerald, which was the name he was given by a regular caller who didn't want to share his name, which Hasashi didn't mind and sometimes encouraged when callers were worried about people they know listening. Hasashi may be a limelight hero and be a very sociable person, but he knows how hard it is to call up and speak on a radio station for some people, especially if they're discriminated by others they know. M was one of them. When he first called, he had stumbled from a name before settling for Emerald. However, as he became a regular caller and constantly called every Thursday, Hasashi and his tech team had resulted in just shortening it to M, like a nickname or a nickname? He was a nervous teen from what Hasashi could pick up from the pitch of his voice and the way he stumbled with his words, especially the first few times he called in, which was thought to be a stutter but was later told when asked by Hasashi was a result of him being nervous around people he didn't know well enough. Hasashi wouldn't have asked, but the stutter had disappeared when the kid was talking about the things he liked passionately, such as quirk analysis and heroes, and faded on some days that he was talking to Hasashi. Good days. Emma was loved by the workers at Put Your Hands Up Radio, and each one, especially Hasashi, looked forward to his call every Thursday, usually between 7 to 10 p.m. Although once he called in at 1 a.m. when Hasashi usually starts to bring the calls to an end, he got one more, that one being M with a groggy and obviously tired voice asking about if someone could be a hero and get into UA's hero course with a weak quirk. That led Hasashi onto a rant on how no quirk is weak, channeling Shota and his rants of how quirkest most people are to motivate the little listener. The next entrance exam was in a year, the most recent only being a mere week ago, and Hasashi was quite sure that M was old enough to go for the next one or the one after. M was ending up crying quite early when Hasashi had started saying he could be a hero, and if he worked hard enough physically, Hasashi made sure to add that M was pretty damn smart already from what he could pick up when M talked about analysis. He had a good shot at getting into the hero course. All he needed was motivation and the right mindset. Of course, he reminded M that there was a system in place so that those who failed the hero course but get into general can try again at the sports festival, which started a whole new topic of discussion every week. M could call in and ask about training and dietary advice, which Hasashi didn't mind answering in the slightest, as it not only helped his favorite listener, but probably helped other teens out there that needed the same advice. Anyways, there wasn't any rules on helping potential examinees with their training. Hasashi was proud of Emerald. He was pretty sure that the kid had faced a fair amount of discrimination and bullying, having heard M accidentally spill some of it by accident when he had got comfortable after a talk about quirk discrimination. He had shared his worries with his husband, Shota, who had tried to calm Hasashi down and tell him that he needed to think logically instead of running off trying to be this kid's hero when Hasashi didn't even know where he lived. Shota and him got in an argument that night. Hasashi mainly shouting worries and small insults while Shota calmly listened and tried to calm him down, which didn't work, so he slept in the living room, giving Hasashi some space. Even though Hasashi himself knew Shota was right, he couldn't be there physically, nor could he beat up a bunch of school kids. He could only be there every Thursday, awaiting a call and giving his little listener a space to talk about anything he wished for an hour or less. Of course, Izuku, the star of the show, the man himself, wasn't as socially anxious as people said, as the people who said it decided to constantly torment him. What do they expect? Calling President Mike's radio helped. He loved the hero. Had since he first saw him. It was a small villain fight, but was enough to make it on the local news, which Izuku watched every day to see the newest fights. This time it was a young star, President Mike, who was starting his career, and Izuku fell in love with the hero. He was confident, powerful, and his quirk was extraordinary. As soon as Izuku was 13, he called Put Your Hands Up radio, as his mother had given him an old phone that used to be his father's before he passed away. She hadn't got rid of it for this reason. Izuku treasured it. He didn't have much left from his dad, just the phone and a necklace. He never took that necklace off. It was a simple gold chain with a small, simple word. His dad had the other part. It was part of his hero costume, a small dragon that was the centerpiece. Sat just above the middle of his chest, which left with him the underground hero dragon, dead due to a villain that got the upper hand on him, outsmarted him. Izuku was 5 when it happened. His dad was there after the day Izuku was labeled quirkless. He stuck around while Inko, his mother, was left with doubt. Izuku doesn't blame her. Everyone knew what Izuku's life, what ended up being like. Hasashi stuck around, though. He told Izuku to not give up on being a hero. Izuku almost gave up once Hasashi died. The necklace gave him hope, though it reminded him that he was still there, and somewhere his dad was watching him, waiting for his son to be a hero like he once was. So Izuku went on, left Bakugo behind. If he couldn't grow up and ignore the quirkless bigotries of others around him, he wasn't going to be Izuku's friend. Of course, that didn't stop Bakugo from picking on him with his group of extras, as Bakugo so kindly labeled them. President Mike helped him more than the man could ever realize. He was there every time Izuku needed. When Izuku got that phone, he was ecstatic. He felt that childish joy again that he had lost. President Mike had given him that. Every Thursday, he began to call, usually while his mother was at work, as Thursdays were her night shift that she started at 7 p.m., which gave him the perfect window for a call. Sometimes he'd call while cooking or doing his homework, but usually while he was sitting in bed alone, thinking. He picked Emerald due to his father calling him that when he was younger. He stumbled through the names in his head, knowing he couldn't use Izuku, as he'd probably would end up not seeing the following week. He knew his mother sometimes had the radio playing in her break room, so she'd end up hearing his name. Of course, there was the risk that she'd recognize his voice, but Izuku doubted that very much, as they didn't see each other most of the time. Her jobs take up most of her time, and when she's not working, she won't be seeking time with him. he's that constant reminder that the last living proof of her husband's existence was him, a quirkless, scrawny kid with a weird habit of muttering. Not what she wanted from him. She wanted Hasashi Midoriya back alive, wanted a different son with a quirk, with a purpose in life. Izuku believes he has a purpose, he just doesn't know if that one he wants will work, but with present Mike encouragement, he will try, will become a hero that struggling people can look to for help no matter who they are. A symbol of hope, his father would say. When they played heroes, at least, Izuku would always want to be All Might, but his father got him to be his own hero. Izuku still want from the All Might theme, but it was made his. So with present Mike's help, he would try to become a hero. Didn't stop him from the life of a quirkless kid, though. That is the end of Chapter 1 of Sword of Hope by ixander on AO3. If you like this, please go support the original author. Link in the description below. Hope you have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you are in. Bye, kittens!